What's up my meatballs, it's Aaronitmar. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different and talk to you guys about a Pokemon theory I've come up with that I haven't really seen echoed anywhere online. We're going to be talking about Mega Evolution. Mega Evolution is a phenomenon that was introduced in the most recent Pokemon games, Pokemon X and Y. It's a process which allows a fully evolved Pokemon to extend past their evolutionary limit and become a new form with higher stats and sometimes a different type. Before a Pokemon can Mega Evolve, several requirements must be met. First, the Pokemon must be holding a compatible Mega Stone. Second, the trainer must be in possession of a Keystone. And third, the Pokemon and the trainer must share a unique bond. We know the cookbook method of Mega Evolution, but we are left fairly in the dark as to the how and why. In the games, Mega Evolution and Mega Stone seem to be given this aura of an ancient art. The Tower of Mastery in Shalor City is evidence of that. There is mention of only worthy trainers using Mega Evolution, and there seems to be a ritualistic battle that is necessary in order to pass on a Keystone and enable the challenger with the ability to tap into Mega Evolution. Very few individuals hold Keystones, and most are elite in their own regard. Either they are well-renowned Pokemon trainers or pretty high up in social standings. Even less is known about the Pokemon's corresponding Mega Stone. Mega Evolution is discussed very vaguely in the games, and leaves the player thinking that this is simply a natural phenomenon that is just recently discovered. Professor Sycamore and Gherkin of the Tower of Mastery both appear to still be in the middle of studying Mega Evolution. So why are they both so keen to hand out Mega Rings and Mega Stones? And where exactly do these Mega Stones come from? My theory is that Mega Evolution is not as natural as it's made out to be. It's possible that this new evolution is more man-made than biological, and this theory all revolves around one Pokemon, Mewtwo. Mewtwo is a genetically engineered Pokemon created by modifying the embryo of a pregnant Mew. And while the anime is not always considered accurate, using Thunderbolt on a Rhydon, for the larger events, it has been a fairly equal parallel to the games. Based on this, we can see that there are two distinct Mewtwo's that have been created. One created by Team Rocket in Kanto, and one created by an anonymous group of scientists in the Best Wishes. This second Mewtwo went on to flee to Kalos. This means that in the Pokemon universe, there are literally only two individual Mewtwo that exist. Two in the entire world. So how is it that a Pokemon that has been genetically engineered and grown in a laboratory has not only one, but two Mega Stones? What are the odds that there would be two convenient materials found in the natural world that happen to interact with the same Keystone and a Pokemon that should not naturally exist to begin with? I mean, it already seems pretty unlikely that a whole collection of Mega Stones exists naturally, and that they all just so happen to react with the same type of Keystone. When you throw Mewtwo in the mix, it just seems downright suspicious. Based on this, we're all but forced to believe that at least some of the Mega Stones are created by humans to force Pokemon to evolve. Force Pokemon to evolve. Now where does that sound familiar? At the end of Fire Red and Leaf Green, and as one of the main events in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, manually inducing Pokemon to evolve was one of Team Rocket's schemes, and overall it appeared to have worked in the example of the Red Gyarados. And it seemed to pose such a threat that Lance, leader of the Elite Four, felt the need to step in and stop this act. Perhaps Team Rocket's scientists managed to take it a step further and created a process that pushed Pokemon past their evolutionary limit. And if we follow this line of logic, it would then make sense that because they experimented on Magikarp and Gyarados, that Gyarados then would have a Mega Evolution. Still not convinced this evolution was invented? The Stone Emporium will literally sell you the Mega Stones needed for the remaining Kanto starters you didn't choose. This implies that there exist multiples of these Mega Stones, and that they are readily being made in order to be sold. Since when are major scientific discoveries sold to the general public? If Professor Sycamore is still researching Mega Evolution, it would mean this phenomenon is relatively new, so why can't I simply go down to a shop and purchase these scientific marvels? Seems rather fishy to me. Pokemon Origins also throws further evidence in this theory. Based on the Pokemon timeline, the Kanto and Hoenn games happen simultaneously as the earliest playable adventures. These are then followed by the Johto and Sinnoh adventures, also occurring simultaneously. Then the Unova Saga happens in an unknown number of years after Johto and Sinnoh, first in Pokemon Black and White, and then 3 years later in Black and White 2. So where does this place Kalos? Because the fairy type is a recent discovery in Pokemon X and Y, we must assume that Kalos is last on the chronological timeline, as the fairy type hasn't been present in any game thus far. So why is it that, many years before the Kalos adventure, Mr. Fuji knows about Mega Evolution and gives Red both the Keystone and Megastone necessary to Mega Evolve Charizard? It's implied that this is a recent discovery in Kalos, but all these years earlier in Kanto, we see Mr. Fuji know the fundamentals of this process. Mr. Fuji knows what he is doing because he does not explain to Red what those stones do just yet, but simply tells him to wait and see. Because of this, it can be understood that Mr. Fuji has a very deep understanding of Mega Evolution. It's possible that Mr. Fuji played a role in the creation of Mega Evolution. Before his days in Lavender Town, Mr. Fuji lived on Cinnabar Island and was known as Dr. Fuji, founder of the Pokemon Lab. Also found on Cinnabar Island is the Pokemon Mansion, which contains scattered journals that outline the creation, the birth, and escape of Mewtwo. It is speculated that these journal entries were written by Dr. Fuji during his time on Cinnabar, as leader of the team that was experimenting on Mewtwo. The lab also has further experience in Pokemon creation and manipulation. The Pokemon Lab is the only place in Kanto where fossils can be revived into Pokemon, and it appears that the very first Porygon was also created at this lab. Based on all of this, is it too difficult to assume that Dr. Fuji helped understand and put into practice the science behind Mega Evolution? He was involved in creating Mewtwo, so he understands Pokemon biology and DNA far better than most. Not to mention that his possession of the Megastones and Origins is a huge tip-off. And if we are to take the anime to be true, Dr. Fuji created Mewtwo under the employment of Team Rocket. Perhaps the combination of his knowledge about Pokemon DNA and other Rocket projects concerning Pokemon evolution melded in Dr. Fuji's mind and resulted in the concept of Mega Evolution. The only question that would remain then is why Megastones are still relatively scarce all this time later in Kalos. Did the volcanic eruption that destroyed Cinnabar between the Kanto and Johto adventures also destroy the only research and tools necessary to create the Megastones? Or perhaps this phenomenon was never really shared outside of the lab until recently. Mr. Fuji also talks about Mega Evolution as a revered art from Kalos, all these years before X and Y take place. But this still does not explain the scarcity of Mega Evolution in Kalos during X and Y. If Kalos is so famous as the origin of Mega Evolution, why do researchers appear to just now be learning about Mega Evolution, and why can only a handful of trainers actually use it? Now obviously this theory has several holes. Like if these Megastones are man-made, why are a majority of them found in the wilderness rather than in a laboratory or a shop? There's also the idea that perhaps Megastones are indeed natural, and that scientists simply reverse engineered them into new stones specifically for Mewtwo. Or that perhaps the Mewtwonites are actually Mew's Megastones, and Mewtwo can use them only because it shares DNA with Mew. And it's possible that this theory is just totally wrong, and that later titles will teach us the deeper origins of Mega Evolution. And honestly, I welcome the day that this theory is rendered incorrect, if it means we gain a deeper understanding of this brand new phenomenon. So, to summarize, Dr. Fuji founds the Pokemon Lab. He discovers Mew. He creates Mewtwo by modifying Mew's DNA. Simultaneously, Team Rocket works on manually inducing evolution. Dr. Fuji takes all of these concepts and designs Mega Evolution. Do I have something here, or am I just totally insane? Leave a comment letting me know. And if you enjoy more of these style of videos, check out my other series, Smash University, which discusses the origins of characters found in the Super Smash Bros. Games. Thanks everyone, and have a great day.